Okay, everyone, I'm going to go ahead and get started today. I am recording this session so that everybody can have a copy of it once we leave. For those of you experiencing audio issues, I'm sorry, I'm not exactly sure what's going on. What I would advise is sometimes I've had people log out of the webinar and join again, and that may fix their audio issues. Just let me know if that helps out. So everybody, welcome to today's webinar. Today's webinar is actually with regards to the students re-registration slash sibling registration. Okay, so for those of you that don't know exactly what that is, those are two modules in PowerSchool that we've gone ahead and customized into the system. Okay, so what I mean by modules is we've written some code into PowerSchool, both the admin and the parent portal, so that when parents sign into the parent portal, they're allowed to um, go ahead and submit their re-registration data. We're trying to cut down on the paperwork involved in re-registration. Um, so we're trying to make this a little more digital. So that's one thing that we're working on, and we went ahead and put into the system. Any suggestions you guys have on improvements, we're welcome to hear them. Again, we kind of rolled this out. This is year one, almost year two of us using it. So we fixed some errors along the way, put in a couple of new developments along the way. Um, but we're happy to hear about more things that you guys want to see in this product. Okay. I went ahead and shared two documents with everyone. I'm going to pull them up on screen. For those documents, you're going to want to go into the GoToWebinar panel, bring that up on the top right of your screen. You should have a little orange arrow that brings up the panel. If you open that up, you should have a handouts section. If you click on the handouts, there should be two PDFs I shared. One is called ACT Aspire Enable Tutorial for Admins, and the second one is called ACT Aspire Tutorial for Parents. We've made a few revisions, so this one's version 4. Here's the one for admins. I'll be using that briefly to talk about the ACT Aspire portal from the admin perspective. And then here is the ACT Aspire manual for parents. This is version 4 of the parents guide. And so I'll be using this to show you how this online registration looks like from the parents' perspective. Um, so I'll go ahead and, before I get started with the admin, I'm going to address a couple of things that I know might come up during the webinar. You're happy to ask more questions. I'm happy to hear all the questions, I should say, and I'll answer them live in this recording. But first thing I should say that the tool that we've developed is for re-registration and sibling registration specifically. So what that means is those two components are basically the prerequisite for those two modules means that you have a student in your system currently in PowerSchool. I didn't say that very well, so I'll try that again. So in these two modules, they are specifically targeting students that are already in the system. Okay, so for students that are brand new to the Archdiocese or brand new to your school, mostly your pre-K and K students, these two tools are not going to help out for those. So I just want to make sure I talk about that initially because we're still looking into finding new student registration um, tools to offer for you guys. But these two should help you get through the bulk of the re-registrants for the upcoming school year. So I'll go ahead and talk about these, show these to you, and show them how it works. And I'm happy to answer any questions along the way. Okay. All right. So let's get started with this. So for those of you guys that haven't used it before, we've developed this ACT Aspire setup for admins. Oh, I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. I think I misspoke here. 1 second. I shared out the wrong documents. I'm going to go ahead and reshare these out. Uh, Re-registration. This is the one. Here, I'll go ahead and open up on screen. I got a little ambitious with the ACT Aspire stuff, but here we are. This is the one we're talking about. Here we are. Online registration for current students using PowerSchool. Admin guide. Okay, I just posted that up in the handouts area, so download this one, please. Uh, and then I'm going to go ahead and pull up the parent guide as well. Where is it? Here it is. So I've got quite a few documents to share with you guys. If you don't get them, let me know. Send me an email. I'll go ahead and share them out again. But here is the document we're talking about: this online registration for current students using PowerSchool. Um, so let's just dive right in. So we'll be talking about these four different things: what needs to be done on the admin portal access, how to find students that have re-registered, how to find the re-registration form in PowerSchool, and then things to do on the re-registration form. Okay, so we'll go ahead and talk about these today. To get started, please do log into your admin account in PowerSchool. Bring that up. We'd included the URL and the little screenshot of what that should look like here. And here is the start page. So one thing that's missing from this screenshot is a new development that we added. If you notice this screenshot, this is how the admin page used to look like about a year ago. Today, it looks like this, where if you notice, we have a new addition on the right-hand side. Let's see if I can highlight that here for you. Here we are. So on the right-hand side, I'm going to go ahead and highlight what we're talking about here. On the right-hand side, we have the button called Registration Submitted. This is a brand new addition. We added this because someone suggested we should have a way of quickly searching it via a button. So there's the button. This is a new development. So going back to the screenshot, that's not on the screenshot, but it is something new that we added to the system, okay? So getting started, we have on the start page some brand new fields. Okay, we have one called temporary registration. Okay, and so you could make any searches on these. Here are some examples on temporary registration. Okay, so you could do temporary registration equals 0, and that will get you any students who have not submitted any data. Temporary registration 1 are parents who have submitted but need approval, and then temporary registration equals 2 is a list of students who's been admin approved into the system. Okay. Before we get started on finding the groups of students here, let me jump back into the system and show you another field that we've also introduced in this new development. There should be one called registration and registration enable. Okay. This field here is brand new to our system. Okay. So this field, what this does is turn on or off the registration for any students in our system. Okay. So here, really quickly, I'm going to switch to a school that I know I've been setting up for this training here, and I'll kind of highlight what I'm talking about here. So if we do registration enable equals 0, which you guys can actually do this, registration, there you go. You guys can actually do this on your PowerSchool admin now. Registration underscore enable equals 0. These are a group of students who you've turned off this online registration tool that we're talking about today. So by default, I think we've set everybody to 0, and we've given you guys as admins the ability to turn it on per student. So if you have a student who you don't want to turn it on for, you can leave them at 0, or you can mass select all your kids and change them all to 1s. Let me take a quick peek ahead at the manual here, so if there's It talks about this in the manual. It does not talk about this in the manual. Okay, so let's go about it in the webinar here. So what we're doing here is we're giving you guys the ability to toggle on or off the registration enable, whether you want to do that for every student. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 8th graders that I have selected here in this test school, and I'm going to go ahead and mass change all of these 8th graders to on for the registration enable. Um, so here's the group of 8 students. I only have 20 at this school. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up this group functions menu and select something called student field value. Okay, so student field value shows uh, a little screen where it tells me what field I want to change and what the new value is that I want to change it to. So I'm going to go ahead and do registration enable, which is what we're talking about. This is the field that'll turn on or off the ability to view this new portal on the parent portal side. So we'll go ahead and turn it to 1. Remember, these 20 children had it set to 0. I'm going to go ahead and change it to 1. And so 0, of course, meaning off, 1 meaning on. So as you can see on the screen here, it lists out all 20 children, their old value for that field, and their new value that I'm about to change it to. Don't be alarmed by the warning. It's just saying that you're about to mass change these things, and it's showing it to you here on screen. And if it looks like it's good, just go ahead and hit submit, and you'll get this message that your changes have been completed. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the start page. You can always do that by clicking on the PowerSchool logo. That'll always take you back to the start page when you click on this logo. So here I've gone ahead and changed all 20 of these students to yes. What does that mean? That means that when the parents log in for any one of these 20 children, they're going to be able to see this new registration tool that we've kind of rolled out for everybody. If we jump back to the manual here, it looks like we're going to take a pause on this admin side right here, this page 5, because we're going to pick up where the parents left off on page 5 here. Okay, I'll tell you guys what I mean by that in a second. Let me bring open the online registration for the parent guide. So this is the parent guide. This is what you guys can actually share with parents for this registration tool. Okay, it's very similar to the admin guide. Here is where the parents will log in. So I'm going to bring that up on screen. For today's training, I went ahead and created a parent account that we can use. Okay. Sorry, there we go. That is the student parent sign-in page. Okay, so as the manual talks about, we're going to go ahead and sign in. And this is the parent portal. A good time to take a pause, talk about the parent portal. This is what the parent portal looks like for those of you admins that have been using the PowerSchool system for a number of years and may never got a chance to look at the parent portal. This is exactly what the parent portal looks like. As you can tell, the page that we're actually looking at looks like a quick lookup screen on the admin portal. So this is exactly what the parents get a chance to see. Okay, these are the navigation menus that they can switch into. Things like grade history, attendance history, set up email notifications, view some teacher comments, get down to account preferences. And down here we have 2 new links. These 2 links are the ones that we set up in PowerSchool. So when we said registration enable and we switched it to 1, these are the two links that show up. If you leave it to 0, these two links do not show up anymore. So that's what we just did in the admin portal to set this up for us. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on registration, re-registration for this student. And as you guys can see, what the parents are shown is a re-registration form. All of this data that you're seeing on screen is directly from the student's custom screens. So as you can see, this is the student info. Here's the parent info. Here's the emergency contact info. And then of course there's a little confirmation that this is exactly what you want to submit. So going back to the top, we're giving the parents the ability to update all of these fields for you guys in PowerSchool. Okay. Now, it's not a direct update, so I do want to make that clear. When the parents submit this, it does not automatically go into PowerSchool as official PowerSchool data. Okay. It's what happens is when they submit this in the admin portal, we're going to be able to find these students whose parents have submitted their forms, and at a later time update the student record with the parent submitted data. Okay, so I just want to make sure we're clear. This is something that the parents can submit, but they're not going to be able to automatically update PowerSchool data without your approval first as admins. Okay, I have a couple of questions here. I think before I submit any of this data, I want to take a moment to just answer some of these questions. We'll submit the data after I've answered these questions, and then we'll jump back into the admin portal. So let's take a look here. I have a question that says, we will receive a notification. Great question, Terry. I do not believe there's an email notification set up. However, that button that I showed you on the admin portal, this one right here, registrations submitted. As parents submit forms into PowerSchool, this will become, right now it's kind of grayed out. I don't know if you can tell by the color there. But once parents submit data, this button lights up blue, kind of like these blue buttons down here. And so it lights up blue, and it gives you a count in this square bracket of how many of those students or students have submitted that data. So does it give you email notifications or a pop-up? No, unfortunately, we thought that might have been a little too annoying to keep those pop-ups coming up, either in email or pop-ups. But we have built it in a way that when you look at the start page on the admin side, this button will auto-increment as more parents submit it. And so it's kind of a nice silent notification on the start page. So I hope I've answered that one good for you, Terry. I'm going to go ahead and type this up and send it to everybody. I will make another comment about that. So we did build a button in PowerSchool. However, please keep in mind that all those buttons are connected to a field in PowerSchool that you can search at any time. Now, you may need to know what field to search. For example, this particular button basically does the temp registration equals 1 search. So when you click on that button, it essentially does that search for you. So you can type it into the box and hit enter, or you can click on the button. It's the same thing. right? And so we just thought a button might be a little more user friendly as opposed to typing in a field like a little formula into the search box, but you could do either or. Um, we'll talk about that a little later when we jump back into the admin portal. But here I have another question, Gil, since we have most of ours. Yes. So the question was, does it make more sense to switch everybody to one for the registration enable now, and then slowly change them to zeros for those who are not going to be registering next year? Yes, you can certainly do that. As a matter of fact, um, I would advise that, and I was going to talk about that at the end of the webinar, that I would advise for you guys to turn on the the registration enable field for all your students at the end of this webinar. And then if you'd like to turn it off for the eighth graders, that makes a lot of sense. They probably won't come back. You can certainly turn it off for the eighth graders. Um, and then I was also going to let you know about what time of the year might be a good time to turn it on, or at least start to see or advertise the online parent registration tool that we're talking about. So I'll touch back on that question again, Joe. Thank you for asking it. I'm pretty sure other people were thinking about it. Um, so I'll come back to that when we jump back into the admin portal at the end. And then I got another question here that says, if a parent verifies the data for re-registering and submits in February or March, does that data become permanent and roll into the permanent file? Okay, so Nadine, that's a great question, and the answer to that is no. So when a parent submits the data from the parent portal, it does not officially become PowerSchool permanent data. What we do with the data that the parents submit is we put it into a temporary holding spot, and then you guys as admins, whenever you're ready to do that permanent change into their permanent file, then you guys can go in and approve whatever the parents have submitted. So you can collect a bunch of data, come February, March, and then hold off on approving the data into the permanent file until, say, April, maybe even June or July. Somewhere towards the end of the school year, you can approve the data in for the upcoming school year, essentially. Uh, so I hope that helps. Yes, you definitely want to collect as much re-registration data as possible from February to March. Um, should you automatically approve that in as you're getting them? I would hold off on doing that and possibly accumulate a list of re-registrants before permanently moving it into PowerSchool. Um, and then you had a follow up here. If we make changes in PowerSchool file after the re-register, it seems like some old addresses did not get rolled. We had I'd have to look into that a little more, Nadine. Thank you for bringing that up. If you have an example, we can certainly look at that, but um, it's going to be kind of hard to trace what you're talking about here. So Nadine had a question: if we make the data changes in PowerSchool, meaning I'm assuming you're meaning that when you take the data from the parents submitted data into PowerSchool, you're saying that some of it didn't change. We'd have to look at that together to figure out what student that is, but we'll take a look at it again when we jump back into the admin portal. And then this is the last question I'm going to take before we go back into the training here. This is Diane. How will we know a parent wants us to update their information? So Diane, you'll get these notifications via this button, and I'm going to highlight it in a second here. When parents have submitted something from the admin portal, and let's actually just jump right back into that so we don't get too far away from this. So this is the re-registration form that pops up on the parent side. So they're going to have a chance to submit this. So if they have not submitted it at all, when they first click into it, this is the screen that they're going to see. Now, after they submit this, they're going to see a different screen. So let's show you that really quick. So I'm going to go ahead and update this. I'm going to say we'll move this up to two. Well, one graduated possibly. Same last name. I mean, same first name. And I'm going to change a few data points here so that you guys can see how this information looks when it's a little bit different. So as you can see, we've added a lot of drop downs, a lot of data entries where they can select instead of F or M for gender, the words actually male, female show up. We have a lot of things where um, it's interpreting whatever the parents submit into values that PowerSchool will accept. Okay, so I'll kind of show you guys that here. Let's see. I'm going to skip over a few data points. I don't want to fill in everything. And I'm going to do that on purpose, actually, so that you guys can see that when you don't submit everything, we are still getting some changes coming over. Here we go. We'll change this to no. Change this to no. Wonderful. So we'll copy that and say and tree nuts. Okay, and one of the things I will say is I think parents should take whatever's in the special medical considerations that they typed in and copy that and paste it into the medical alert. I'll talk about that a little later, why they should do that. Um, I let the parents type it in themselves in case they wanted them to say different things here. These two fields here, they're just fields on a database where we can look for them and make reports off of them. This one right here, medical alert, takes whatever you put in here and can have it show up in multiple places as a symbol when either parents, teachers, or admins find the student. There's a little symbol that pops up next to their name that says, hey, there's something here that you should pay attention to. So I've created it as an optional thing that parents can copy and paste whatever's in here, paste it in here. That way it shows up in the different portals throughout PowerSchool. Okay, I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, again, in the green words, make sure you click a little check mark. That's kind of our way of saying, hey, you've reviewed the data. Make sure you review the data. And so as you can tell, without the check mark, I don't have a submission button. With the check mark, my little submission button shows up. So parents can actually see the data and confirm that this is actually what they want to do. So let's go ahead and hit submit. Okay, wonderful. And we get one of these generic messages from PowerSchool that says, hey, your changes have been recorded. Thank you so much for making those changes. And the next time they click into the re-registration link, it's going to greet them with this message. Okay, so as you can see, it tells them that we have already received the re-registration data. And so it's no longer showing up the form that they got when they first submitted it. Okay. We did build in an edit button. Okay, I think this is an addition. We could look over the guide to confirm. So here's the guide for the parents. We've already talked about the login. This is what the login looks like. We already talked about this This button, this is what the button looks like. Um, Here we've got a little explanation with a screenshot on how to fill in the data and how to interpret the data. There's the confirmation page, and the edit button did actually make it to this screenshot. Okay, wonderful. So this must be an updated manual because this edit button was not part of um, the original code. Uh, we wrote in the edit button so that parents can go back and make changes if they hit submit too early, or if parents submit half the form but not the rest of it, they have an edit button where they can go back and hit submit a second time with those additional edits that they made. Okay, so we do have an edit button. You can communicate that to parents that even though they submit it once, they can always click edit and make those updates a second time. Okay. Um, so there's that. This is all we need. We're going to talk about for now with regards to the re-registration um, on the parent portal side. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out, and we'll go back to the admin portal here. So here's the admin portal. We've already gone ahead and submitted one re-registration data. Let's go ahead and refresh our page. I'm going to refresh it by clicking on the logo. And as you can see, my button now here on the left, I'm sorry, the right here, now has one re-registration submitted. Okay, so if I were to click on that, which I'll do in a second, it will bring up either a list of students if I have more than one. In this case, I only have one. So when I click on it, it's going to take me directly to that student who submitted their form. If I have two that in this little square bracket, it's going to give me a list of those two. Okay, so I only have one for now, so let me go ahead and hit this button. And then right there, it takes me right into the student account that that is showing up who submitted the data, whose parents submitted the data. In this case, it's this student account's data that was submitted. Okay, let me go back to the start page. And before I talk about anything else, did you guys have any questions on what we just talked about, how parents can submit the data and how that notification shows up on the admin portal? I do have one question here. I understand that the re-registration is available to parents only through the web page, not in the PS app. That's correct, Kasha. So that's a really good point. Um, so to Kasha's point, this customization that we're talking about, it's only available on the web pages to PowerSchool. Okay, so there is a PowerSchool parent app out there that people have stumbled across and found and love it, because there's have been some recent improvements to the PowerSchool parent app. And so I think a lot of people have been finding it really useful. But all of these customizations that we're talking about, they're not available there. As a matter of fact, PowerSchool does not allow for a lot of customization to happen on the app. So the app is really PowerSchool's guarded app that they don't want anyone else to get into. And so we can't develop anything in the app, but we could develop things within the web pages of the parent, admin, teacher portal. So that's what we went ahead and did. So those things we're talking about here, these things we're talking about, they're only on the web pages. We have a request. We request all parents to register by a certain date. Can we run a report to see who is still outstanding? Terry, I don't have a report. That's a really good suggestion to come up with a type of report that would list who's still outstanding, but I don't have one just yet. This is where we get into when you should approve data into PowerSchool. So as you can see, I have one registered student, and in PowerSchool, if I hit the all button, I have 218 students. So that number in the square bracket, if I, of course, subtracting my eighth graders, should be closer to 218. Um, you know, um, if I'm not getting about 218, we can always find who hasn't. Um, I'm going to try my best to see if I can get a second person submitted, because what I want to show you guys is that when you type in the word temp re-registration equals 0, okay, and this is where we jump back into the admin guide, because this page I talked about a little ahead of time, but temp re-registration equals 0, that is parents who have not submitted anything. So if I hit enter on this, I should get a number like 212, close to the number of student enrollments that I have in the school at the moment. If I hit 1, that should be the students who have submitted it. And if I do 2, those are the students that I said are approved and their data got copied into PowerSchool essentially. So I hope that helps there. I'm going to go ahead and type that in for you, Terry, here. That's a really good question. So that, what I just sent you there, um, can get you a list of students who have not submitted anything, or outstanding, students who have not put in anything yet. Okay. So the numbers will decrease in the box as the admin approves the registrants. Yes, that's a really good follow-up question. And I will also send you along another formula, Enza. That's a really good point. Um, that is correct. So as you start approving some of those registrants into PowerSchool, that number will decrease in this box on the button. And to find the students that you have actually approved into PowerSchool, you're going to want to do temp re-registration equals 2. That will find you all the students who you said are approved for the next school year. Okay, I have a follow-up question here. Oh, I have a couple here, so I'll take one more here, and then I want to show you guys how to approve the data into PowerSchool. This jumps back into the admin portal aspect of it. So I want to make sure I get through the manual before the allotted time here. So, and then of course, I'm going to jump back into questions. I just want to make sure we cover everything in case people have to get to other meetings. So let's see here. This last question I'll cover. It says students with parents who live separately but have PowerSchool parent accounts for the same parent. When one parent re-registers, then the re-register data is disabled for both, correct? Yes, that's correct. I believe that's a really interesting point, Janet. I want to say that both parents who have accounts have the ability to submit the data, but only one of those will get approved into PowerSchool. So it's a really good point. I don't know if we have an ability to lock out a parent. Um, I'll have to think about that, Janet, but that's a really good point. But a parent who, if two parents have the account, one of them or both of them can hit submit on that, and we will only get one copy worth of data. Okay, so that's a really good point. I'm going to think about locking out parents who we don't want to hit submit, but yeah, I want to say we're only going to get one set of data from those parents. Okay, so actually, let me jump into the next point right away, which is how to approve the data into PowerSchool. Okay, um, so again, we have the button that says how many students have registered, so we can go ahead and click on it. And what that's going to do, it's either going to bring up a list or jump me directly to the student, depending on the number of registrants. In this case, I only had one, so it's going to jump me directly to the student. And so here's the student account. And in the admin portal, we talk about how you jump into custom screens. So we're going to go right to custom screens. And in the manual, it talks about how we now have a link called re-registration. This is new. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Here's the custom screens. And now we have one at the very bottom here called re-registration. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click on it. As you can see, we have a very similar layout as what the parents were submitting. We have an extra couple of columns here, though. We have the parent submitted data. So the way it reads is these are the questions that the parents answered. This is the data that exists in PowerSchool at the moment. This is what the parents submitted, and whatever you put on this far right column, that is what will go into PowerSchool as official PowerSchool data. Okay, so you don't have to submit right away. You can always go back to the start page and accumulate a great amount of students before you go ahead and approve the data into PowerSchool. And this is a great time to talk about when you should approve the data into PowerSchool. So one of the things you should know, take a look at all the data that we're updating, including addresses, phone numbers, emergency contact information, doctor, dentist information, allergy information. Okay, so those are the types of things we're putting into PowerSchool as updates that parents gave directly to us. Okay, be mindful of when you copy this data over. If the data is relevant for the next school year, then you want to hold off on approving the data until closer to the end of the school year. So you can use whatever's currently in PowerSchool for this school year, and then the approved data that you approve sometime towards the end will carry over for the next school year. Okay. Time frames that I'd suggest. I mean, if you start accumulating and collecting these re-registrants in January, February, March, waiting until May or June might actually be a very good idea in approving the data into PowerSchool. Now, if that's too late, just be mindful of the things you're updating in PowerSchool. Not everybody's address changes, not everybody's phone number changes year after year, but those are the types of things that we're allowing parents to update themselves. And so if you're okay with updating it early, you certainly can. Just make note of what is the data that we're updating. Okay. So as you can see, the way this works is that in order to bring this parent submission data into PowerSchool, you have to copy per line whatever the parent submitted into the far right column. Okay, we designed this with a purpose where you get the chance to review each data point that the parents submitted. Okay, would it have been easier to create a copy all button? Sure, but this allows you to spot check line by line what the parents submitted and whether there was any typos or whether there was any possible errors. And so, as you can see, where the data has not been submitted, there's no copy button there. It's kind of grayed out. But where the parents did submit some data, as you can see, I'm actually able to copy that over to the far right. Okay, I'm going to scroll down really quick to the very bottom because, as I said earlier, we really, really want you guys to go line item by line item and copy over the information. However, we do have a copy all button. I always talk about it at the end because it's a great practice to go line item by line item and copy over the data. But if you have 500 kids, I can certainly understand how a copy all button would be much more beneficial. So at the bottom, there is a copy all button. So if you want to scroll through it, give it a quick glance, make sure the data looks correct. You can copy all, and then you hit submit. Okay, so before I hit submit, I do want to show you that there's a warning down here that says when you hit submit, all of the parent submitted data will be cleared. And the reason we clear it is so that we're ready for the upcoming school year. So this system is almost self managing. It manages itself. There's nobody that has to go in and clean the parent submitted data. It cleans it itself when you hit submit. So it's going to clear whatever the parents submitted and make it official PowerSchool data. A couple of points I'm going to show you. This is new, right? This medical alert, that's something brand new that I put in. So I'm going to show you that when we copy it over. And make note of the last name. I hyphenated the last name to Arm-Strong. I did that on purpose so you can see that when we hit submit, this data does officially become PowerSchool data. So at the top here, right underneath the picture, we have Armstrong, no hyphen. After I hit submit, oh, this is actually a really wonderful time to talk about this too. As you can see, this one student account that I have in the system here, we've used it obviously for a number of things, as you can see, including family match. So if you have a student with family matches set up, it's going to give me the ability to update all of those family matches as well in the one submission. So I'm going to say no, unfortunately. I'm going to take away all these update checkboxes. But as you can see, one change can trigger updates for other students. And you have the ability to say yes or no on that. Okay. I'm going to say no, and I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. So you'll get the message when you look at the re-registering page a second time that says this student has already been re-registered for the upcoming school year. No actions needed. So as you can see, the column where parent submission is at is completely empty. We've cleared it automatically. And then a few values got updated. Look at the last name. I'm highlighting it here right underneath the picture. The last name is hyphenated now. So as you can see, whatever parent submitted after I hit submit on the re-registration admin side, it's going to become official data. Okay. Also, another thing that I added was that medical alert. I did that on purpose because it's something that wasn't in the system before I hit submit. Now that I hit submit, it's in the system. And I told you guys that that medical alert would pop up throughout the teacher portal, the parent portal, and the admin portal as a little symbol that says, hey, there's something about this student you should pay attention to. Okay, so as you can see to the right of the picture, next to the word re-registration, I've got this little symbol that looks like a medical alert. Actually, it is a medical alert. It looks like a little symbol you would see in the medical field. So if you click on it, it's going to bring up the message that I typed in or actually copied over from the parent side. So I wanted to show you guys that's actually a nice thing that parents can submit for us, and we just simply copy into PowerSchool and make it official PowerSchool data. Okay. If I go back to the start page after hitting submit on this, I do want to show you guys that the button registration submitted went to 0. Okay. So it got grayed out, as someone had mentioned. Does it decrease as you approve them into PowerSchool? The answer is yes, it decreases. And so if we do the search temp re-registration equals 1, I should have 0 students because that's what the button's telling me. There are no students to register into the system, or I'm sorry, re-register. If I switch that to 0, if you guys are following along, this is 0 is who has not submitted it. So again, we don't have Armstrong on this list because They are not 0. We do have their other Armstrong that I've been working with, but not the hyphenated one. If I do switch this to 2, which I sent that in an earlier message here, I do get a student that I have re-registered. And so as you can see, there is the student that I had re-registered. Had I done 2 or 3, you know, that search, instead of jumping me straight to the student account, would have yielded a list of students. So if I had 200 students who I have approved into the system, if I do temp re-registration equals 2, that will give me a list of 200 instead of just the one student. Okay. This is a good spot to stop for a moment. Take a little breather. I'm looking at the time. I know we started a little late. It's 10:58. So if you have to run, just don't feel bad if you have to jump out of the webinar. But I still have to talk about sibling re-registration and answer any questions you have. So we're gonna run over time a little bit. Um, I'm happy to stick around if you're happy to stick around. So let's go ahead and jump into some questions here and then show you sibling registration, which is a very similar process. However, there is a few caveats, so I just want to address those, you know, um, in this webinar. So the question is, you were scrolling fast. Is there a data point for parishioner? That's a really good point. Let me bring up the screen. Parishioner, I think, is found under the parent info. So let me scroll down to the parent info. I don't believe we added that here. That's a really good point. Possibly something we can add in if in future developments here. Let me go back up to the student info because student lives with religion. We have the religion field, just not the parishioner field. So no. Um, certainly something. Certainly something we could look into, but at the moment there is not any. And I will definitely ask about whether we could add that into the re-registration here. If the admin approves the information, will the parent be able to get into the edit portion again? Yes, actually, Nadine. So this is the part where a lot of people get a little uneasy about this, but I want you to know that we've developed this with full understanding that we want to hand over the reins to you guys and control this how you'd like to control it basically. So to your point, Nadine, yes, if you hit submit, as I've done here for this student, let me go ahead and bring up the parent portal one more time. Okay. So parent. Okay. Yes, parents can still click on the edit button. Now we've left that like that on purpose, because um, we want the parents to, if they submitted bad data, or you want them to submit it again, or um, for whatever reason, something didn't get copied over properly. We want to give parents the ability to go back in and fill it out a second time and not have to reset anything on the admin side. So yes, parents can still click edit. As you can see, Since the data has been approved, it has all been cleared now, so the parents will have to retype it in again. Um, I don't believe it's a terrible thing for it to be cleared and have them retype it again, but yes, they will have to retype it again. And when they hit submit a second time, you know, those data points will get reset and you will be notified on the start page that an admin or a parent, let me go ahead and do that so you can see. I'm going to go ahead and hit edit, and I'm going to go straight to the bottom and hit submit. And the reason I'm doing that is I just want to show you that if a parent were to do it again, on the admin side, those values get reset and we get notified of that submission again. So basically, the student got moved from approved back to needs approval, basically. Um, so we put that into place so that you could manage it that way in case you get a call from a parent that needs to get back into the data to update something. They don't have to call you. They could just click the edit button, or if they do call you, you just tell them to click the edit button, and that'll get them back into the form to submit a second time. And you'll get notified of that second submission. Um, of course, if you want to lock them out of it, right? So if you want to lock them out of, after they've submitted, let's lock them out. You could always take the students from temporary registration equals 2, take the students here, and I keep mistyping that. Sorry, guys. Take the students that are listed here, and in this case, I have 0, but of course, as you start approving some of them in, take the students that are here and then do a student field value change and turn off the registration enable field. So registration enable go back to 0 for the students who have already been approved, and then the link won't show up again. It won't show up again, I should say. So here, I'll do a little example. I'll take all the 8th graders, and I believe my one test student is within these 8th graders. As you can see, I highlighted it. I'll go back to registration enable. I'm sorry, student field value. I'll use the registration enable field and switch it back to 0. Hit submit. It's going to ask me, are you sure you want to do this? I say yes. And let's go back to the start page, bring up the parent portal. Here's the parent portal. I'm going to go ahead and click registration enable. I'm sorry, refresh. And as you can see, on the left-hand side, it's gone. It's no longer there. All I had to do was just refresh the button or refresh the page, and those 2 buttons are now gone. So again, yes, you can disable it after they've submitted and you've approved, essentially. I hope that answers the question there, Nadine. Let me jump to another one. If I disable the re-registration for the 8th graders, will the parents still have the option for sibling registration? No, it's an all or nothing, unfortunately. So what I mean by that is when you turn off registration enable, both the re-registration and the um, sibling registration get turned off. So unfortunately, it's an all or nothing situation. We've built it that way where you don't have to do it 2 separate times. We felt like that might have been too much work to just simply remove the buttons. So we put both of those into one. If you guys feel like we should split them up into 2, I know it's a little more work on the admin side to turn them on because you got to do it 2 times. But if you find that more beneficial than leaving it all as one turn off or one turn on switch, let us know. Let us know. We can certainly look at that and develop that in the future here. Another question: can you also click yes for re-registration equals yes and run a report that way. I don't believe the word yes works. I believe the word is temp re-registration equals 1. I don't want you guys to get confused. There is already a field in PowerSchool called re-registration, and I believe that includes the word yes and no. So Enza, I'm sorry, I think you might, I don't know if those two field names are too close to each other and maybe we're confusing them, but there is already a field in PowerSchool called re-registration. That's not what we're talking about here. We called it temporary registration because this is all temp data that the parents are submitting. So we called it temporary registration to kind of make the difference between the two fields because they are talking about the same thing essentially, um, but they're two separate things in PowerSchool. So I hope that helps. Janet unfortunately had to go, but I do have her question here. Students with parents. Oh, I've already answered that. So let's go ahead and move on here. Um, all right. I think I got a few more questions that came in. Let's see. Can you check to see if there are other? Joe, to your question, can we check to see if there are other fields requested on the OCS that would need to be added? Um, I'm gonna kind of lean on you guys for this as administrators of the PowerSchool system. I've sent along the list of fields that we developed in the parent student re-registration to OCS, and they approved it. So it seems like that's something that they like. But if you guys have fields that you want me to add on to it, parishioner is certainly a great one. I'm going to lean heavily on you guys to tell me about those. I feel like parishioner doesn't really change much, but I suppose it could. You know, where 1 year they could be a parishioner and then not be a parishioner the following year. That's certainly something that can change. So maybe they left that off because it doesn't change very frequently. But let me know. You know, what other fields you think would be helpful. Will the field next year plans still be active to use? Yeah, so Enza, to your point, that field in the next year plans, Enza is bringing up the. So if we go over to custom screens, confidential, there's a field. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Next year plans, you said. Next year plans. There's a field called re-registration for next year. Yes, no. You can still use that. That's fine. This is completely separate from this field. This field does have a nice report that you can get a yes no listing of students, but it's not going to really help you in collecting the data from the parent portal side. That's where the difference is that this field is a report. The other field is parent submitted data from the parent portal. So you can still use it. It's just a little different. Same name, similar name, I should say. This one's called re-registration. Re-registration. The other one's called temporary registration. Sorry about that. They're very close in naming convention, but they're not the same thing. Can a parent make edits, or is it specific to the re-registration screen? Um, I'm a little confused by that, Terry. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit? Parents are, of course, submitting the data, so parents can, in fact, we're getting the data from the parents, and parents can go back into it after the fact and make changes. So I'm a little confused by that. Maybe I'll hold off and see if you got a follow-up comment on that one. But yes, parents essentially could, and they do, make edits to the re-registration data. That's where we gather most of the data. So could we leave the eighth graders as one until the siblings? Yeah, Joe. So to your point, yes, I would say we could leave the eighth graders at one in case we want to do the sibling registration stuff. and then maybe turn it off at a later time. We're having technical difficulties. We're able to see all the webinar. Will this be rebroadcasted? So Janet, to your point, since you're having technical difficulties, um, it won't be rebroadcasted, but I do have it recording, and I'm going to make the recording available on the OCS resource portal. So hopefully that helps. Um, all right, wonderful. I think I've answered all the questions for now, but we're 12 minutes over our allotted time. Again, if you have to leave, I understand, but I'm going to go ahead and cover sibling registration right now because it's actually another very important aspect of this re-registration tool. So to set us up here, I gotta turn the parent portal back on, the re-registration on the parent portal back on. So give me 1 second. I'm just making it turned on one more time for my test student. So there we go. And let me bring up the parent portal one more time. Kind of set this all up, frame it up for everyone. Parent and change me. Great. Here's the parent portal. Let's talk about sibling registration. Okay. Sibling registration. What is this and why do we need it? Oh, look at that. I should have cleared some information here, but it looks like that's okay. We'll just use it again. Um, okay. So sibling registration, what this is if you have a student in the system already, okay, so you have an eighth grader, a seventh grader, a sixth grader, and their younger brother or sister, their younger sibling, is coming into your school for the next school year, okay, we give parents the ability to tell us about that through the parent portal in the form of sibling registration. So again, this only works if you have a student already in your system. Parents can access that student. They can click on sibling registration. That is the way sibling registration works. You tell us how many new siblings are coming into the system next year as pre-K, K, or maybe even in some of the middle school. Um, so I'll kind of run a demo through this system here and show you how it works, and then we can talk about how to use this going forward. So um, let's go ahead and click on sibling registration for, actually, let me see if this next student, here we go. Okay, perfect. I have another student that is connected to my account, Mark, here. And so on the left-hand side, I'm just going to click sibling registration. The reason I'm doing this, guys, full disclosure, the other account has data that I've used for previous testings or demos. This one doesn't have any data. I want to make sure that I don't show you any data on this recording so you can have it like a brand new copy here. So full disclosure, that's why I'm switching students here. So I'm going to go over to this other student account, click on sibling registration. As you can see, the very first question that parents get asked is, how many siblings will be registering for the upcoming school year? Okay, so not this student, Mark, but Mark's brother or sister that's coming into the school next year. If they're already in the school, you don't have to fill this out. Each one of those students, if they're already at your school, will fill out the re-registration. So if I have Mark and Timmy and whatever other student is already at my school, they will all do re-registration. Sibling registration is only for brand new students that are not in my system already. I want to make sure I make that clear because I don't want you guys to fill out Mark's data in re-registration, and then Mark has a brother at the school already, and you fill out sibling registration by mistake. Because sibling registration will create a brand new student in PowerSchool. Re-registration will just update PowerSchool data. Okay, that's very important to make note. Re-registration will just update PowerSchool data Sibling registration will create a brand new student with a new student number. So don't get those two confused. If if you want to write that down as as a little warning, that's the difference between re-registration and sibling registration. Sibling registration will create a brand new student with a new student number. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and create a brand new student. So I'm going to say one new student for the new upcoming school year. Student one info. As you can see, it's going to ask me for just some very simple data. Don't be misled by this. We are, in fact, in the background copying over a lot of data. I'll show you in a second here. We'll call this, I don't know, we'll call this Scott B. Armstrong. And we're going to give it a date of birth of today. That doesn't really help us, but I just want to make sure I show you guys that some of this information is, um, you know, you got to be careful. Parents have to be careful with how they're filling it out because there's no fail safes or validation going on with some of these fields. Date of birth is one of them. You could say today is their birthday. Um, and so I just want to show you guys this. So here it is. Here I have my simple one new sibling registration data filled in. This is going to be my brand new student in PowerSchool. So I'm going to go ahead and put a check mark in the box that says, are you sure you want to continue with this one registration for the upcoming school year? I'm going to say yes with a simple check and hit submit. Okay, it's going to give me a little confirmation. It's going to say thank you for submitting the sibling registration for the following student. And as you can see, here is the data that I submitted. To the parents, it looks like a very simple process. Well, let's take a look at what it actually is on the admin side. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this, bring up the admin side, refresh my screen. And so let's take a look at that here. I'm going to go ahead and I don't have a button, unfortunately, for this. So what you'll have to do is, and I'll bring up the manual in a second, you'll have to type in sib for sibling, reg for registration, one, so one registrant, so sib reg one. The way we name this field is sib for sibling, reg for registration, and one for one of the students equals, and then one. So the formula seems a little repetitive, but it's not. It's sib reg 1 equals 1. And hit enter. When you do that, it brings up a list of students whose parents have filled out the sibling registration for one child. Okay. Now, earlier in a phone call in another training, they said, well, if I want two children, do I just change this to two? And if I want three, do I just change this to three? Not this field. You don't change this one. You change it over here. So if you say sibreg 2 equals 1, that's the list of students who've submitted two children. Okay. If you do sibreg 3 equals 1, that is the list of three children. Okay. So as you can see, I'm bringing up the same student over and over. So I'll bring that up a little later in our training here, but I'm going to go back to sibreg 1 equals 1. And this might be something that we actually develop a button for, or a little cluster of buttons for in the near future, because just like re-registration submitted, where the button kind of preloads the number of registrants, we can probably do something similar here for sibling registration with the 1, 2, or 3 kind of showing up as buttons. Something we've kind of been thinking about for future developments, but if it's not quite in in production just yet. So you do have to type in the formula like this. Let me see if I have a manual that I could put up under handouts. Uh, I have one called Sibling Reg for Admins. So let's go ahead and bring that up. And I just shared that out with everyone. So the reason I'm bringing this up, I want to see if we talk about in this manual um, all of these things that I'm bringing up here, including the formulas. Okay, so there's a screenshot here and a little blurb that tells you what the formula searches should be. So SibReg2 equals 1, SibReg3 equals 1. Okay, so we did talk about that, and there is a little note here. Let me look further here. All right, wonderful. Okay, so the rest of this pages that I was scrolling through kind of fast, we're just going to do a live demo of this information. So don't be alarmed. I am bringing up the information on screen. Um, okay, so when I do SibReg1 equals 1, here are the two students whose parents have submitted sibling data for. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the Mark account, which is the one that I was working with earlier. If I go again over to custom screens, by the way, all of these extra links are in custom screens. That's just where we've put them because that's just the best spot for them. Okay. So re-registration, sibling one registration. We're going to go ahead and click on it. Okay. So as you can see, this is the data that the parents have submitted. Again, make note, this is not the only data that's getting copied into PowerSchool, but this is the data that we've allowed parents to submit. Okay, and I know there was a question over here because I was quickly glancing at the questions coming in. They were coming in pretty fast. Um, Grade level, we don't allow parents to submit the grade level simply because um, the parents might not understand what the grade level is that the student is coming into. So we've reserved that for the admins, but certainly something we could also look into for future developments. Let's go ahead and copy over the data. Is this the oldest? No, this is the youngest. Yes. Bum, bum, bum. And I'm going to go ahead and put a check mark to confirm the registration. And just so you guys can see, I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. And when I do that, it's going to bring up a confirmation registration where I have a couple extra fields to fill in. One of those is the full-time equivalency. The next one is grade level. So as you can see, I'm going to put them in as I'll put them in as a kindergartner. I could even fill out the homeroom. And the homeroom, of course, is just, remember, that's just the field that you can search on. So the naming convention that you use for homeroom can be anything you want. It could be HR room, or it could say room 200, whatever the case may be, room 210, however you want to establish a naming convention for the homeroom. The sibling registration is going to give you an ability to update it prior to creating the new student. So we haven't actually created the new student just yet. It's after we hit submit on this page that we create a new student. So we're just confirming the last few points, which is the enrollment date. What date is he going to start school? So I'm going to say today's okay. Full-time equivalency, grade level, homeroom, and entry code. I'm going to say original entry and go ahead and hit submit. And it is at this point that we have already created a brand new student in PowerSchool. Okay, now just as we create new students in PowerSchool, it's going to check for duplicates. Okay, it popped up this student because they share the same last name. Unfortunately, these are not the same students, so we'll go ahead and hit enroll. So at this point now, we've created the new student. And one of the nice things that it's going to do for us is it's going to bring up any potential family matches. Okay. These are all the data points it can match on. It can match on last name, grade level, physical address, mother's name, father's name. Notice on this list, those are all things that these students share similar um, similar data points here. So I'm going to go look for one of these students. I'm going to click on, let's say these two are related here. So they're related. I could actually relate multiple students at one time. And then I could also take the data from one of these students and copy it over to my brand new student in the system. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to hit submit. And we're taken to a student, which if you notice, we've got the new student in the system, kindergartner, new ID number, and we're taken straight into their custom screens one student information for us to finish the registration data. So at this point we could fill out other things like um, baptismal date, confirmation date. Those are things that probably require physical documents for. And so you know, we're giving you guys the ability to still do those things separate. The parents won't be able to do this directly from their parent portal. One of the things you guys should note is I did not type in any of this data here. This is all data that came over from the previous student, Louis Armstrong, including phone numbers, addresses. If I jump over to custom screens 2, parent info, notice I'm getting all of that data copied over from the sibling emergency contact information, assuming they have the same contact information. There it is. I've copied it over from the sibling registration, from the sibling who was connected to the student. And so you can see that all you have to do is finish the registration for this brand new student after you've approved them into the system as a brand new student in the system. Okay. So going back to the start page, if I were to requery sib reg 1 equals 1, I no longer have a list of students. I only have my one student here, and the mark account has fallen off from sib 1. Sib reg 1 equals 1. Okay. Any questions on that? If I were to search sibreg1 equals 2, which is the next state in which the mark account got moved into, this is just a holding spot for all the students who have submitted a sibling into our system. So that's just a little food for thought. That's where the mark account went. It went over to status number 2 on the sibreg 1 equals 1. This sibling registration tends to get a little wordy and a little bit confusing, so I wanted just to make sure I answer any questions you have about that. I'm just looking over the manual, see if I missed anything. I don't believe I did, but I'm double checking here. As you can see, the screenshots also talk about, what it is that is happening in each process of the sibling registration, where we're creating a brand new student, family matching, copying over data, and then finally, you can see that if you go back to the start page, you can search for that student that you just entered in, and you can see that you have now a brand new student with a new ID number down at the bottom. Okay, so it doesn't look like I missed anything from the manual. Let me jump to questions. Actually, before I jump to questions, let me bring up that one account that kept popping up for us. That is I believe it was, let's see, reg1 equals 1. Okay, it was this other account here, this other student account that we have. I'm going to jump over to custom screens and show you that when you have one student registration, you're going to have one link for SIB1 registration. When you have two, you're going to have two sibling registration link. And when you have three, you're going to have three links that you can click on. So you can enroll student 1, 2, and 3 as you get put them into the system as brand new students. Okay. If you guys think there's any cool developments we can certainly do for that, let me know. Just going to bring up the Mark account again and go over to custom screens. I want to see if you have, as you can see, after we've taken the student associated to Mark and put him in as a brand new student, you can see that none of the data pops up anymore here as far as SibReg registration. Okay. Any questions so far? I got a few that came in, so I'm going to cover them really quick. The sibling registration still requires a birth certificate. Is there a document submission field? No, there is no document submission field. I believe that is why we've kept the sibling registration very simple. It's not as automatic as the re-registration, where a lot of the data that we're collecting is simply updates in PowerSchool. I know there's still a little more process that needs to happen with regards to document collection. And so we've kept the data collection from parents very simple so that admins at the school can follow up with those documents that need to also be submitted, like birth certificate. Unfortunately, there's no document submission in PowerSchool parent portal as of yet. So I'm sorry, but Terry, that's a really good question, but I don't have anything for that. Why isn't the grade level included in the re-registration and sibling registration? Well, Janet, I think I answered your question, but in the sibling registration, it does have the grade level just at the admin level, at the admin approval stage, not the parent submission stage. Like I was saying earlier, I think we determined that parents might not exactly know what grade level to enter for a pre-K student. They may not interpret for the upcoming school year. They may put in for the current year. And so we've left that grade level for you guys as administrators to fill in. Also, please keep in mind that a lot of these fields that the parents are filling in and submitting, these are all temporary fields that we're associating to the current student. So we don't want to build out these great, we don't want to build out a big list of fields that are just going to be temporary fields, that we're only using them for temporary situations. So we didn't want to make the sibling registration a list of 100 fields, 100 extra temp fields. So we've kept it pretty simple, pretty straight to the point. And some of the later field entries like homeroom, grade level, enrollment date, what was that other one? There was one more field here. I'll bring it back up. Where is it at? Oh yeah, ethnicity, race. Those are the types of things that we've put into the admin approval stage, not the parent submission stage. So, as you guys can see, there's still a little bit of interaction back and forth between the parents after the parents have submitted sibling registration. We don't want it to be a complete digital, no follow-up type of situation. Terry has another. This would eliminate the returning family to complete an. Oh, there was an earlier question. Let me jump back to that earlier question. Uh, can you check to see if there are other fields? I think we did this one already. Okay, so just going back to ones that I haven't answered or sent an answer for. Um, let's see. Will the fields in the next year plans? Okay, that will still be after. Can parents make edits? Uh, uh, okay, I'm just sending a few answers. I know I've answered these live on the recording here, but I just want to make sure I sent these. It does create a note trail of the questions and answers, so I do want to make sure I sent those out to you guys, and we can later download the questions and answers. Um, so could eighth graders be left as one? Oh yeah, we did answer this one. Okay. Okay, I don't want to have too much um, silent time here on this recording, so let me jump straight to. Is it possible? I think, if possible, I think it would be helpful if parents could submit more information at sibling registration, previous school. Might be different. Okay, I can certainly understand that, guys. If there's a need to maybe collect a little more information um, at the sibling registration point from the parents' perspective, um, I would probably ask to see if you guys can submit to me a list of additions. Um, I will certainly take that list of and put it up to OCS and see if those are possible additions we can make at the sibling registration stage. I'm not making any promises, but I can certainly see how at the sibling registration stage we can probably extend it out a little more and collect more information at that point. Um, there are some limitations, I will say. Um, so as you submit your list of additions, just keep in mind that some things might not actually be possible because again, the sibling registration is, for lack of a better term, um, piggybacking off of the current student. So we don't want to mess with the current student data. We just want to bring in some simple data to create a new student. Um, so I just want to point that out though it's possible to add in more fields, we want to keep it as simple as possible so that we can make the process of creating a new student very fast, essentially. Um, but I can understand the need to maybe add in some more things. We are required to see the. Oh, Kasha makes a really good point that I was not aware of myself, being in the tech field here, but you guys as um, in the administrative office at the schools have a little more information. And Kasha made a great point that you guys are required to see the original birth certificate. So uploading a document is not an acceptable way of making that requirement. So good point, Kasha. I was not aware of that. So yes, I think um, as I mentioned earlier, we did run this through OCS to see if this is something that they think is great for now, and they liked it. So I think birth certificate might have been something we talked about. And to your point, Kasha, I think you do have to see the original physically as opposed to just something uploaded, which can be altered, unfortunately, um, through certain software. So good point on that one. Um, Okay, wonderful. I'm actually not getting any more questions, and I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Thank you again all for coming out to today's webinar. I am actually going to stick around a few more minutes, and I'm happy to answer more questions. But for the sake of the recording, I'm going to go ahead and stop this.